My name is Efraín, everyone calls me El Buitre. I write to you from Bacalar, Quintana Roo. What I'm going to tell you happened in 2009, when I belonged to the Special Forces Corps of the Mexican Army. Today I'm a paramedic for the municipal police of Bacalar. This is my story. We were an elite unit. In the days of President Felipe Calderón, they moved us around a lot. On that occasion we were about 14, an officer and 13 troops, sergeants and cabos. We arrived in Tamazula de Victoria, Durango, and a few days later we walked to a nearby ranch, the town of La Chacala. The place was picturesque, like a postcard, especially for people like us, mostly from the Yucatan Peninsula. We rarely saw those imposing mountains. It all started when we arrived at a house where an old woman and 5 or 6 young women were waiting. I don't remember exactly how many. As always, there's that one commander or partner who can't resist flirting, and he got close to the girls. Thinking about some company and food, we offered payment in exchange for them preparing something to eat. They didn't refuse, they accepted and gave us a list of things they wanted. 3 of us went to the store. A man of about 60 received us there. He looked at us with disapproval. "You guys are never going to change," he said. "You get poisoned for an easy skirt. You come alone to get in front of the wolf's mouth." At first we thought he was talking about boyfriends or husbands, like we'd be getting into trouble. We joked and told him to calm down, that we weren't going to steal from anyone. He laughed but warned us, "If I don't say it for that, they're not what you think." As you see me, I used to be a priest, but I had the misfortune of meeting them. Today it's forbidden for me to touch the Bible. I can't leave this town either. The old woman handles them. And she doesn't forgive anyone who crosses paths with them. But I already warned you. The poor old man's stories made us laugh then. We left and returned to the girl's house. People on the road looked at us with sorrow. I don't know if they suspected something terrible was coming or simply judged us for heading to that house instead of a vendetta. When we got back, our commander was talking with one of them and was very excited. They were all very pretty. Not much happened and they called us to eat. We went in. Those of us who had been outside set up security, something we never neglected. We ate. Everything was delicious. The meat came in good-sized, tender squares. We enjoyed it, but I had a doubt. I never saw where the meat came from. It wasn't frozen, not dried or smoked as is common there. It wasn't poultry, and it didn't look like beef or pork either. I told a friend who's already dead, may he rest in peace, and he laughed, saying maybe we'd eaten a bastard. "Remember what the father told us," he said. Maybe that was it. Later we said goodbye and started the march to the point where we had orders. We had to destroy a clandestine laboratory heavily guarded by men cultivating poppy and other plants. They told us not to go up the hill because strange things had been happening. We all thought they were just trying to get us out of the mission. Maybe the husbands or family were the men we'd face. We advanced on foot for more than 2 hours over steep, rocky terrain. Stones would fall now and then and someone would warn the others. Night had fallen when we finally approached the place. The lieutenant in charge met us, gave final instructions, and we surrounded the site, keeping close to each other. We were at the top of the hill. The mountain tip closed like a crater, like a giant antler. The elevation didn't end in a flat or cone. It left a hole where the light of a great bonfire came up. From the bottom we began to hear songs, laughs, screams that sounded painful. At that moment I was certain we were about to confront something. My nerves were at 100 and my finger on the trigger, waiting for the moment I'd fire my first shot that day. We got closer, and when we had a clear view of the bottom, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I looked at the faces of the others beside me, fear, astonishment. There, down below, were women. Young women who were performing some ritual or sacrifice. They were decapitating something, animals, what seemed like dogs or coyotes. They were bathed in blood and bare-chested. They didn't seem to notice our presence a few meters above. Mexican Army, hit the deck and don't move, the lieutenant shouted. Immediately, those women looked up as if they'd been expecting us. In the dark, they put their hands to shade their eyes, trying to cover the light. With knives in hand and without showing fear, they began to climb out of that crater. One ran with 4 legs to get a better grip. Another climbed like she was going down steps backwards. I can't be mistaken, they were the same women, or at least too similar to the girls who had attended to us earlier. The fear I felt was immense. I heard shots. Someone reacted and fired. I don't know if he hit one or if fear made him miss. There were 2 or 3 bursts. The one next to me ran and I didn't want to stay a second longer. I ran after him, but in that twilight I couldn't see him. We ran downhill. Suddenly my body slammed into a trunk. My face hit the earth, my mouth and nose filled with dirt. I stopped automatically but then kept running. My rifle hung from my shoulder. I had no intention of pointing it. I ran blind, not seeing where I was going. I heard the howls of something running on my heels, very close, but for no reason did I turn to see what it was. Terror only let me run for my life. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. I had never run from the enemy before, because I knew that like me any man is mortal. But that night I felt we were facing something with no explanation, something we couldn't face. Those women didn't look normal. There was something insane on their faces, something demonic. I ran until my legs wouldn't respond, until my throat burned with effort, and for a moment I thought I was dying. I let myself fall and tried to hide on the ground among fallen branches and a pine trunk. I hit my face in the earth and stayed still, not wanting to make a sound. My body was wet with sweat even though the night was freezing. Then I heard slow footsteps, like a hunter stalking prey. Through the fog I saw a figure advance very slowly, without any other noise than that breathing. I wasn't sure if it was one of our men or one of those things. I didn't want to risk it. I closed my eyes and pressed my face to the ground. After a while I heard soft crying, like someone sobbing silently, and then, intermittently, a melody. 2 or more women singing. Their voices were angelic, a song that seemed to invite me to follow, but my survival instinct told me it was like a siren's trick. As soon as that thought came to me I heard macabre laughter, women's laughter, the laughter of lost souls mocking my fear. For a moment I didn't know if I was alone on that mountain at the mercy of evil. I couldn't see or hear anyone from my unit who had gone with me. A distant cry of men made the fear spike again, as if they'd taken one of my friends. Fear overwhelmed me. I urinated myself. I thought I'd never see daylight again. I closed my eyes, ready to accept whatever came. Then a branch breaking woke me. I heard murmurs and 2 men dragging near me. Carlos Mario and Lurias. They had found each other. I slowly got up and realized some of the tactical team were missing. I didn't have the magazine in my long gun. My sidearm lay near where I was hiding. It was dawn and the fog was thick, but at least we could communicate with hand signals. It took about an hour to gather almost everyone. We began to call out the name of our friend, Cabo Camacho, who was not among us. One said he heard a scream. Others had heard something but didn't know who. We searched for 2 days. They sent a paratrooper company and nearby units to comb every corner. They found Camacho's weapon up in a cypress, with bloodstains. A week later they found his backpack and a boot. Then his bulletproof vest, torn as if an animal had ripped it apart with something like teeth or a saw. About Camacho we never heard again. Angry and wanting answers, we went to the house at the ranch where we'd been given food. There was no one there. Only the dishes remained, dirty and smelling rotten. It was hard to explain what had happened without sounding cowardly or crazy. It was even harder to live knowing the family was told he had deserted, that he had left dishonorably, and that there would be no more explanations. A year later I asked for leave and came to live here. I work in a much calmer place now, though later I've had to face situations comparable to the fear of that night. I'll tell that in another story when I can. This is what happened.